is a podcast made by women for women. We talk with a wide variety of experts, ranging from a sex therapist to the CDC and everywhere in between, to bring you the stories you're only going to hear here. Our goal is to entertain and educate, because it's more clear now than ever just how much we as women are doing, as parents, as spouses, employees, just as everything. Don't miss out on being in the know. Subscribe to Soul Source wherever you listen to podcasts today. Leave us a review too, because this part's really important. When you leave those reviews, that's how we're able to continue bringing you the content you love each and every week. So buckle up, Soul Source Society, because we're about to get started.
If you approach it from a place of curiosity and non-judgment, then you're going to be much more open. But if you're approaching it from a place of like, I need to get off, or this needs to feel a certain way, then I think that makes us much more closed off to the idea of trying out something new.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host of Soul Source, Raquel Lamel. Welcome back to the show. I hope you're all having a great day out there. And today, ladies, we're talking about sex. That's right. I went right there, right to the point, because we're talking about this very important piece to a woman's life, well, to everybody's life, but to women's lives today. Sex changes as we change, right? It changes as we age. It's not the same when you're 20 versus 30 versus 50, any other age. So my guest today is able to talk with me about some of the changes that we navigate as women in the sex department. We're also going to be talking about just keeping things fun, spunky with your partner, especially if you've been with somebody for a very long time, because that changes as well. And we are going to be discussing this pandemic and how that's just trying to kill everybody's sex lives, let's be honest. So without further ado, my guest today is Liz Dube. She's a sex and relationship therapist. And as she says, she's here to cure the world one bedroom at a time. Liz, welcome to Soul Source.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about sex today. Seems like the topic of the week for, you guys are talking a lot about it. So,
well, it's important, and I appreciate you being here to share your insights. You say so casually, I'm excited to talk about this. I suppose this is an everyday thing for you, though.
Yes, it's a little more listening as a therapist. And so I'm always excited to be able to get the floor and talk about the things I love to talk about that are juicy and provocative. And
so what made you want to get into this line of work, specifically as a sex therapist?
Well, this is my second career. And, my mom was really progressive sexually. So I've always been pretty comfortable talking about sex. And I realized from my 20s, people weren't getting more comfortable. I thought as they got older, they'd get more comfortable. And so it was something that was different about me. And I've always loved helping people. I'm a survivor of sexual trauma myself. And so to be in a place where I've done some great healing. I love laughing about the topic so that I can make people feel comfortable. And I also love educating people. So it just felt like really a calling for me.
So how long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been a therapist for about 12 years. And then prior to that, I played around with sex toys. Oh, wait, no, I sold sex toys as a sex toy consultant. And I did that for fun for about 5 years before becoming a therapist. But then prior to that, I had a corporate job. I was a professional development consultant and coach. And it's always fun to help people with their jobs and their livelihood, but it's so much more fun to help people with sex.
You're like a professional sex development coach now.
Yes, totally.
So talk with me a little bit from your opinion and what you see. What makes for a healthy sex life for couples? What does that look like?
There's so many things. And so I would narrow it down to, if we could just narrow it down to 5, here's my top 5. Okay. The first one would be communication is open. That you can be transparent about what you want and what you desire, and that you're curious and compassionate with your partner when they express what they want and desire. And so in order for that communication to be open, it's got to be emotionally safe as well. But I would say communication needs to be open. novelty. You got to mix it up. If you're doing the same old all the time, then it's just not as delicious. It's just like, I don't want the same thing over and over. So you got to mix it up in whatever way you can. And you need to feel connected. If you don't feel connected during and after on the majority of occasions, then that's going to be kind of shitty. Honestly, that after you have this really physically intimate experience that you're not feeling more connected to your partner, we need to have good connection. And it needs to be pleasurable, duh, right? It's got to feel good. And the last thing I'd say is that both partners need to initiate and make each other feel desired. It needs to be, it's not going to be 50-50. I know that there's always going to be one partner that's initiating more or is more expressive of their desire for their partner. But you really need to be at least 20% of the time initiating sex with your partner. And so that your partner feels like they are desired and that they're not doing all the heavy lifting for the sexual relationship, so that it can feel like a mutual experience.
Yeah. So that's perfect, because I want to talk about a couple of those topics that you just mentioned there. The first one being, you talk about like mixing it up. Well, if you're in a relationship, you've been doing this for a while with the same person, and life can get crazy. You add kids, you add pets, you add all these things to the mix. How do you do that? How do you keep it exciting?
So I think I know people are going to hate this, but you need to schedule sexual encounters.
What? Come on. No.
How yuck. Okay. But think about it. When you were dating, you were hoping and planning for that encounter. And so you weren't wearing the granny panties. I guarantee it. Okay, so if the only reason you wore the granny panties was you're like, okay, I gotta hold out tonight. I'm not gonna, and this is the only way that I cannot have sex tonight. So I think you need to carve out time. Anything that's good in life takes effort. And so we need to be carving out time to plan out encounters. Does it need to be planned out every single week? No. But if we get into that monotonous dynamic between the two of you where it's like, okay, so, hey, you want to like go make it happen tonight? And, oh, okay, sure. I'll meet you in bed at 10 o'clock after our show. And let's start with a little bit of making out. We'll very quickly get into some sort of penetration. And once each of you and I orgasms, we've got to get into that particular position that we orgasm in.
Oh,
and then we're gonna, we've orgasmed. Okay, now good, we're all done. It's like, that's really efficient, but it's not desirable. It's not juicy. And so many people, we're working, we're exhausted. You've got kids, you've got animals that need your energy. And so in order for us to be able to create something that's delicious, we've got to figure out like, what would be a good recipe? How could I mix it up? I think scheduling it helps to do that. In scheduling it, you get to look forward to it. You're like, hey, I'm so looking forward to Saturday night. And you're flirting with your partner about it. Maybe you're taking a pic of something that you're wearing underneath your clothing for that. Hey, what do you think about this outfit for Saturday night? And you're creating maybe some mystery of what it is that you might be doing. There's a lead up. And don't make your date all about food. So if you're having a date to preface the sexual encounter, come on, like, let's not make it about food. First off, people choose food over sex so often, and that it's like, okay, if the sex isn't worth wanting, I can get how you would want the pleasures of food. But if you're choosing food over sex continually, then it's never going to improve. And, you're showing up tired, full. That's, you're not really experiencing new things with your partner. And so I think experiencing new things with your partner outside of the bedroom, seeing your partner in a environment that where you're both kind of looking attractive, in an element that is enticing, that you're flirting throughout the week, you're telling your partner that you're excited about it, you're thinking about it. Oh, this is going to be good. We're carving out time for one another. And that mindset starts to fuel the desire in you, and expressing it towards your partner starts to fuel the desire in them. And then you're facilitating that dynamic between the two of you. So did I get you to buy in? Are you going for it?
Hey, you're preaching to the choir here. Not gonna lie, I'm in this point in my life where I'm, a new parent. I have a dog, I have a cat, I have a husband who works a rotating swing shift. So every week is a new schedule. So he's tired all the time. And then I'm running the household most of the time because he's not around. So it's like, I hear you with the scheduling, because that's a hard schedule to try to maneuver. But it's also one of those things, I'm a big on the spontaneity. I like the spontaneous piece to it. So I don't want everything segmented out. So I'm kind of thinking in my head, could I kind of schedule this, but then not tell him that's what I'm doing? So
totally. I love that. Yeah. Don't tell him exactly what you're doing. Give him some hints. Give him a little bit of stuff here and there, some hints of you should be wearing this. And here are some hints about what you could expect. Write him a little note that has some hidden messages in there that give him a general idea of what might be happening, but it's not telling him everything. And hopefully he'll do the same for you. And then there's this excitement. And so the scheduling, if you're going to schedule sex that looks the way it always looks, then I can get how people would not be as drawn to that suggestion.
Mm-hmm. So, I had a question here. I was going to ask you about the spontaneity piece of this, and what does that look like when you're talking about switch it up and change it up? I mean, it's easy for people to get comfortable, right? And to get into this is what I like, right? And you tell me to tell people what I like. Here's what I like. So what would you say, to old dogs, new tricks? What would you say to that?
Old dogs, new tricks. So, I mean, first off, you've got to show up without an expectation. I think so many times what stops us from exploring sexually is feeling like our partner's going to judge us, or that, they're going to be disappointed based on their expectations. And then we tend to be orgasm focused. Mm-hmm. And so if we approached sex in a way of pleasure, connection, novelty, mixing it up, let's just have tapas tonight. We don't need to have intercourse. We don't need to have the full main course. Mm-hmm. Let's just play around and tease with that. And, or it could be different places within the house. It could be parking the car in the hills and making out and see what happens. Mm-hmm. It could be using different textures, pulling in, find 5 items in the house that would be interesting to rub across your body and play around with that. Mm-hmm. and see, what would this be like? And if you approach it from a place of curiosity and non-judgment, then you're going to be much more open. But if you're approaching it from a place of I need to get off, or this needs to feel a certain way, then I think that makes us much more closed off to the idea of trying out something new. Because the whole idea of what keeps us from trying out new things is because we're scared about how it'll turn out. We're worried that it won't be as exciting or as gratifying. We tend towards what we know, because it's well, even though my sex life has got boring, at least I know what to expect. And yeah. So I say, take away the expectations, but you've both got to be on the same page. Is sharing with your partner, what do you think about us doing this? Let's maybe take away some of the focus from orgasm and penetration, and let's just get naked and start to explore each other with these different textures and ways of being.
Okay, that makes sense. And that goes right into that communication piece and openness that you were talking about at the beginning of the show. So that makes a ton of sense. How often do you run into couples where maybe one has a higher sex drive than the other, and does that change? Because I know women, hormones, all of that changes throughout life. So do you find that often?
Yeah, I mean, most couples, there's going to be a difference in desire levels. And in order to decrease that gap, both need to make some effort towards, coming together more on the same page. Women typically do have a lower desire than men. And a lot of that is because of our hormones, but a lot of it is that like men never think about sex being dangerous. Maybe now with the Me Too movement, now they're going, oh shit, I could actually get in trouble for some of the things that I say and do.
Yeah.
But women approach the world in a space of, how do I protect myself from sexual dangers, from being shamed sexually? The slut shaming that goes on for women, if they're, you can be sexy, but don't be too sexy. And then just in our general safety. And so I think that we're so often shutting down our sexual selves. So it's going to be pretty common that women are going to have less desire than men. And then when you get two women in a relationship, even more of a struggle sometimes. But it's probably one of the biggest things that I work on with clients is working through the sexual desire discrepancy, or when a partner has really low desire and she or he are trying to figure out how to reignite that.
Now, when you're working with couples like this, do you find, if you're not matching up desire wise, does one couple usually, or one person in the couple usually take it like personally, like I'm not desirable, they don't want me? And how do you work through that? Because that's not usually what's going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times people do take it personally. And, but also on the other hand, sometimes partners will pathologize their partner. They'll say, oh, well, there's something wrong with you because you don't have desire. There's something wrong with you because you don't want to have sex every day with me. And then, oftentimes it's really just good judgment. Maybe the sex isn't really that juicy and delicious. And so, well, I'd rather Netflix and chill, or I'd rather have a good meal than to make an effort towards sex that isn't worth wanting. So sometimes I'm working with the couple to be able to figure out what are the pieces, what is the recipe for a really inviting sexual encounter that would make you have more desire. But then also working with the lower desire person to be able to identify what they're doing on a regular basis to squash their desire. So even just the examples that I gave earlier, the idea that I think women, we often are pushing our desire down by feeling like, well, I can't be sexy during the day. It's not safe for me to be sexy in this environment. And so being able to see, or are you just, the moment you start to feel a flicker of desire, do you go and clean the house? Do you go and work on a work project? Do you go and work on nurturing someone else? Or are you actually making a conscious effort to fuel your desire, nurture your desire, take that time out and say, okay, well, I'm feeling a flicker of desire. What do I do with that? Do I dance around naked? Do I do some erotic dancing that would feel really good? Do I masturbate? Do I sext my partner? Do I do things to get that ball rolling? And so I help a lot of women start to figure out what they're doing to squash that desire and how we might start making efforts on a daily basis to reignite it. But it really takes a lot of consciousness to get there. But it's so doable because the biggest organ, your biggest sex organ is your brain. So we really got to start there.
Just changing the way you think. And I find that is so useful in so many things in life, is changing the way like you think about something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Versus it being like, oh, I should do this for my partner. How about think selfishly of, ooh, how would I like to be licked and touched and massaged tonight? What would I like? And if hopefully you have a partner that's receptive to say, oh yeah, I'd love to give you all of that. That would be lovely. And then as you're receiving that, then you're going to feel an increase in arousal. Everything's going to feel so much better. And then you're going to be that much more receptive to your partner, like you likely were when you first started dating and you were feeling that yearning throughout the day that you were fueling on a regular basis. Oh, I can't wait to see them tonight. I can't wait. It's going to feel so good to have them on my body. I can smell the smell of them. And I wonder what it's going to be like. I'm learning about them. But we shift our thoughts and we start thinking we know everything about our partner. We start having expectations. We get into efficiency. We don't make it a priority. And then we wonder, where's my sex drive gone? Well, it's way back there. You left it back there when you were dating. You can get it. Come on, let's go find it. We can find it.
Yeah. So what is probably the biggest misconception? What is the biggest thing that the people do and you're like, oh, please stop doing that?
Yeah.
Loaded question, I know.
I know. That maybe sex is only good if you have an orgasm. I mean, I think that it's like the cherry on top. But if you're with a partner and they're not having an orgasm and you feel like, oh, well, you're not having a good time. I think maybe one of the misconceptions a lot of times for hetero men is that women are just that penetration is so important.
Oh, yeah.
I think, it's like, guys, have you not Googled this yet? I mean, I get that maybe my generation thought that because they had to pick up a book and read about it, but you can Google it. And women really want you to use your hands and your mouth a lot more and to have less of a focus on your penis. But, unfortunately, people learn about sex from Hollywood. And it's just wrong. It's not accurate information. It's either women are learning that men should read their minds from the romantic movies, right? We like, oh, he's going to read my mind and he's going to kiss me just the way I want to be kissed. And he's going to caress me and everything's going to fall into place. Yeah. And that's just bullshit because sex is awkward. Sex is, messy. Sex can be loud and silly and embarrassing, but it's not sexy in the way that Hollywood presents it because, ask any actor and they will tell you how awkward it was. Yeah. They're like, oh my God, okay, move your arm under her in this way so it looks sexier. And now, okay, cut, let's put you in that position where you're pushing her and you're having sex with her up against the wall. And he's like, hey, my thighs are getting sore here. I need a break. Like, come on. I mean, this is stuff like, this is not real sex. Real sex is being able to say, hey, do you like it like this? Or do you like it like that? Ooh, do you like when I do this fast? Or do you like it when I do this slow? Oh, you like it that way. Oh, do you still like it the way that we used to like it 10 years ago? And asking those questions and being curious. And it's definitely not like the porn where women want to be pounded. I mean, our bodies are not made to be pounded. We some good pounding on occasion can be quite delicious, but again, variety. Maybe you're fucking me one night, you're making love to me another night, and then we're just playing around and teasing one another another night. But if it's the same shit day after day, night after night, it's like, even if it's, even if your favorite meal gets old after a while.
Yeah. This is such great advice. So, okay, you talk about the guys, like there's things that women want, but there's a level, I think, for women of, like you said, we learn a lot from the movies. We learn a lot from, what you see. Parents don't have these conversations. How are you going to learn about it? So I guess from your standpoint, what can be done, or how do we make sex more a talkable subject? How do we make it so that it's not something so taboo to talk about so that women do express more of what they want. Guys aren't just watching porn and thinking that's what women want. Like how do we do this?
I guess the key words are non-judgment, curiosity, and compassion. I say, if you can approach it in that way and both of you can be in that space, then you can start to say, hey, what are some things that you would like more of? What are some things that you would like less of? And what's something new that you would like to infuse into our relationship? What are some things that we've never tried that you're curious about? Mm-hmm. What are the things that I do that are some of your favorites? And that could be a really great, productive conversation, or it could be a conversation about ego, insecurity, jealousy. And so if you show up in a way that is non-judgmental, curious, and compassionate, then you're going to get some juicy information from your partner. They're going to be able to share with you. And sometimes people are in a place of like, well, I don't really know what I want. Mm-hmm. And if you're in that place, then just try out new things without an expectation that it's the way it's going to look. So if you go and you get 5 items throughout the house and you start and you explore that, touching your bodies with that, then you may identify that, oh, wow, I really love the feeling of metal against my skin. Mm-hmm. And you would have never known that had you never explored that. Maybe. I mean, sometimes we get partners that will introduce us to really new and exciting things. But if you've been with a partner for a while, sometimes we get shy about introducing new things because there's just all this relationship stuff mixed up in it. But I think that there's lots of things that you could probably Google. It's not really the best resource because, it's like the top 10 ways to turn your woman on. And your woman's like, oh, hell no. Number 7, cross that shit out. I'll do number 7. But to be able just to say, hey, I found this stuff. What do you think? This could be fun. But I think there's lots of great books out there as well. But to be in a place of, you don't have to know everything. I was a sex therapist for years, and I still continued to learn things, and I still continue to learn things about myself. So just because, even if you are an expert in something, doesn't mean that you know everything. You know everything from your perspective. And, the last thing that I would say is that if you have a healthy relationship with masturbation and you give yourself the time to be able to have a pleasure session with yourself and not have it in such a hurried fashion, then you can start to become more aware of maybe how you like to be touched. And then you can have more of a language to be able to show your partner and express that to your partner.
Okay. Well, there's one big elephant in the room, and I haven't tackled it, but it's the pandemic. We are, 2 years into this. I feel like we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But, how has that impacted people in the sex department?
Yeah. More people are working outside the home now, whereas before they were all, so many people were working from home, but still a lot of people are still working from home. And so that if your partner's home 24/7, and even if you go away to work, you come home and they're always there. You never get alone time. And it also, or one of you never gets alone time. The other, the partner that goes off to work, the partner that's left at home gets some alone time when you're off to work. But I think fire needs air. And if you have no space in your relationship because you're working at home or you're both working at home, that is a really hard thing to work out. And there's still a lot of stress. People are still feeling, at least in Southern California, they're still feeling a lot of anxiety surrounding either the fear of getting sick or the pressures of debates about, get vaccinated, not get vaccinated. All of those things are still creating a constant level of anxiety and stress with people. And stress is not good for sex drive. When you're in a state of survival, sex is about thriving. And you need to be able to be past a place of surviving to be able to thrive. And so I think that is a really big factor, is just that constant like uneasiness of where we are in the world, things changing on a daily basis. And then one of the other things that I keep seeing is that people are feeling kind of stuck. They're not planning outings in the way that they used to.
Right. Yeah.
Dates are limited. The adventure in the relationship is limited. People aren't going to parties. They're not seeing their partner in an element outside of sweats or what we wear at home. And so that is not incredibly sexy. And so it's hard to feel sexy when you are not having something to kind of get dressed up for, and your partner isn't as sexy to you when you don't see them in that element of when you were first together. Now, I think you can certainly create that. I think that you can have dates at home and get dressed up and show up in a way that acts that you can create that in your head, right? And in your environment. But it's also more difficult too for childcare. If you don't feel comfortable going out, and you've got kids at home, then how does that affect your ability to feel romantic, to go into that sexual space? And again, particularly in Southern California, we don't have the square footage that other people have in other parts of the world. And, the average person has a house that's 2,000 square feet, 2,500 square feet, and they've got kids in that space. And so can you really fuck your brains out when your kids are... It's kind of tough to really go at it in a uninhibited, really like let it go way. So these things are all factors that are still really prevalent in what's happening in our culture right now.
How do you think all that's going to affect people or impact people? Like, is this going to have? This is just a curiosity question on my part, I guess. But do you think this is going to have like any kind of a long-term effect on this generation right now?
Man, I think younger people are having a really hard time meeting people.
Yeah. Oh, I can't imagine trying to date at all the past 2 years.
So hard. But I think that the really young people, the kids, they're having a blast. They're like, they're getting way more screen time. They're like, parents are home more often, less time at the babysitter. Those are great. But then, for families that are in disarray, families where there's abuse, those numbers are spiking because people are stressed. And what happens when people are stressed? They take it out on the people closest to them. And so this is creating a lot of anxiety and depression and abuse to children and to families. So there's a lot of trauma going on, and that's not very sexy.
No, you just brought the mood down. What the heck?
Don't ask me non-sex questions. How dare you?
So
I want to talk about your dogs in your bed.
Oh my gosh. You want to talk about my dog? I have one dog. She's a Rottweiler, but she's 85 pounds.
Oh my God, Raquel.
And she's in the bed, and the cat insists on being between my husband and I. I have a 10-month-old baby at the time of this recording, but he'll probably be a year by the time this comes out or close to it. He sleeps next to us in the crib, and then I got a husband with a rotating shift. I'm telling you, Sex is hard to come by in this house.
Yeah, this is so crazy. Okay. So this is both me and my partner have done videos on this topic.
Oh, okay. Well, do tell.
No doggies in the bed. So my Instagram is all jacked up right now, so you can't find me on Instagram, but you can find me on YouTube, Talk Sex with Liz, and I'll post our videos on no dogs in the bed. Okay.
Oh, I feel bad though.
Oh my God. Okay. So those doggies do not belong in the bed. So here's the problem. Okay. The baby's in the bed, that is fine. Okay. The baby's in the bed, you feel horny, you get up and you go handle your business on the couch, in the living room, in the kitchen.
And the baby stays there. Yep.
Whatever. You go handle your business, or you pick up the baby and you move the baby into their crib if they'll stay asleep. I don't know. Yeah. So babies are not as big of a problem in the bed because you can move yourselves. But that Rottweiler, okay. So you tell me, if you start having sex, you tell the dog to get out of the bed and you start having sex, what's that doggy going to do? He's going to be like, what's going?
She growls at us. Yeah.
Whining. I'm jealous. I want to be up there with you. And then you close the door.
Yeah. And then the baby's waking up. Yep.
The door. Yeah.
Yep.
And then you're like, okay, fuck it. I'm going to go into the living room. Who follows you into the living room? Not the baby.
Yep. The dog is everywhere. Yep. Yep.
I'm telling you, man, you got to get a dog trainer. No doggies in the bed. That is the worst thing. We're going to have to handle that.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I appreciate the advice. I will make sure that we have the link to your YouTube channel in the show notes here for the show, so people can watch that video as well as the many others that are out there, because I know they're good. But real quick here before we close out, can you tell me some of the things that you help people with?
Yeah. So I have a private practice in Long Beach. So people can come see me, or they can do teletherapy. And I see tons of women, men, couples on anything sex related. If it's related to their relationship and sex, if it's related to some sort of dysfunction, if it's related to a kink, if it's related to just feeling like I want to become sexually empowered, then reach out and we can have a session. Some people are not ready for therapy, or they want a different approach to addressing struggles with sexual stuff. And I have an online coaching program. You can check that out on talksexwithliz.com. And that online coaching program has been designed for women who are struggling with sexual desire, or at one point or at one time or another, or they feel like they've never really had desire, where they're wanting to become sexually empowered. So it's a 4-week program for people to be able to start to identify all those things that they are doing that stifle their desire, that squash their desire, but then to also be able to find themselves of what it is that would turn them on, what it is that they could be doing differently within themselves and within their relationship to be able to create a greater sexual satisfaction, to ignite their desire, and to maintain that in long-term relationships. And then I have a newsletter. I mean, you can always check that out. Today, if you go to talksexwithliz.com, you can sign up for my newsletter, and you will get the 5 ways to start reigniting your sexual desire today.
Okay, that sounds good. I can get on board with that.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
And you can find me on social media. Everything is Talk Sex with Liz. And hopefully we'll have all that stuff in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to have that there for people. Liz, thank you for being here. I like talking with you today, but just the no BS approach you have to everything. You make this topic fun, like you said. So I appreciate that so much, because this can be such a hard topic to talk about, and you just made it fun and light and easy. So
good. Well, and thanks for letting me talk. Yay, I got to talk today.
Thank you for listening. And if you want to hear more Soul Source, just subscribe to our show. We're available wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can watch us too. We're on YouTube. Just look for Soul Source. Soul Source is brought to you by Red Shoes Inc., a leading agency specializing in crisis and strategic communications, media relations, social media, and so much more. To learn more about Soul Source and Red Shoes, visit us at redshoesinc.com.